If you want to learn how to create a content strategy that resonates with your customer, that creates short-term and long-term results for your brand, as well as grows your brand community organically, then keep on watching. Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Anya, and on this channel I help founders of direct-to-consumer brands grow their companies. Today I'm talking about how to create a content strategy for a brand. Step 1 to creating a content strategy for a brand is to begin with your customer. There is two things you have to remember about each customer. So number 1 is that they all have some sort of need or problem that your brand and your product is solving for them. And number 2 is that any customer just wants to be entertained. So anytime they consume any content online, either short form content on social media or longer form content, like for example on YouTube, they want to be either educated or entertained. So in order to solve those educational needs for your customer, you have to understand what is the need and what is the problem that your product in your brand is solving for that customer, and then create content around that topic for them. And then for the entertaining needs for your customer, you have to know them personally. You have to understand what your customer is watching, what sort of shows on Netflix or Disney Plus are they watching, what sort of movies are coming out, what sort of music they listen to, what sort of trends and everything that they follow, so that you can create fun and entertaining content that is relatable to your customers. So if you create content that is on one hand educational for your customer, that it's something that they consume because they want to solve a need or they want to learn something, and on the other hand they can be entertained at the same time, now that's when you hit a jackpot. The real goal is to create content that is both educational and entertaining. A second step in creating a content strategy for a brand is to understand your customer's journey. And the reason why you want to know what is your customer's journey is because at each one of the stages, from awareness to consideration, purchase, and post-purchase advocacy, your customer has a different set of needs, different set of objections and or questions about your brand, so that when you do create content, it needs to be tailored to what are those questions and what are those needs for your customer at each one of those stages. The next tip on creating content strategy is to stick to your brand identity in your brand voice. And what I mean by that is, don't get stuck chasing likes and engagement on social media, because while that is very important, it might not necessarily be a brand building type of content for your brand. So continue to invest in branding type of content that might not necessarily be the most engaging, but it will contribute to building up the brand image in your customer's mind. To give you a quick example, a fashion brand may release a seasonal video that is highly artistic and very inspirational type video, and it's not gonna get the most engagement on social media, but it is gonna be at that brand building type of content that you still want out there. And to build on that point, my next tip on creating a content strategy for a brand is to have a mix of different types of content. So you have to create both short form content that is great for quick wins on social media, as well as long form content that is great for a long-term type of game where your brand drives organic traffic through search engine optimization. To elaborate a bit on short form versus long form content, short form content is anything that goes on social media. So think anything that goes on Instagram, like Instagram Reels, stories, carousels, photos, or for example TikTok. Now on TikTok you can share carousels, but also short form videos. So all of that type of content, it's great for driving engagement, for kind of connecting with your customers, and to keep your brand top of mind for your customers when they are scrolling through social media and just having fun. On the other hand, long form content might not necessarily drive super high engagement and shares for your customers, but what long form content does brilliantly is solving problems for your customers. To give you an example, when your customer has some sort of question or a need, or they're looking for something, the place that we're gonna go first is either Google or YouTube. And when I type in a query on how to pick an engagement ring, for example, they will see more of a long form content pop up, something that has more words in it, and search engine optimized content. And what that type of content does is it does two things. So number one is that it drives organic traffic back to your website, and number two is that it builds trust with your brand. So on one hand, you have fun and snackable pieces of content that just keep your brand top of mind and it's fun and engaging, and on the other hand, you have more long form, more serious type of content where you're developing brand trust, where you're showing your expertise in a particular industry, and you really need both short form and long form content in your content strategy. So to illustrate what I'm just talking about, let me give you an example of a custom direct-to-consumer jewelry brand, Frank Darling. Now on their Instagram, they have a ton of quick snackable content where they show the different rings and designs that they create for the customers. The content is very snackable, it's quick to consume. When you're scrolling through Instagram, it's very quickly to see some of the new styles and designs that they're doing, and that's great. And on the other hand, when you go on their website, they have tons and tons of long form articles that are very well search engine optimized, so that when you as a customer have a question about different cuts of diamonds, different metals, different settings, all sorts of questions that you might have, they have all that information on their website. And what that does is that by posting a lot on their Instagram account, they keep the brand top of mind. But having long form content on their website, they're showing that I'm not just good at taking cute photos of my product, but actually know my industry and I know what I'm talking about. So when you order a ring or a piece of jewelry from my brand, you can be confident that I actually know as a brand this industry really well. Now my next tip, and this is probably the most important one, is to diversify the platforms on where you are distributing your content. And you want to make sure that your platforms have either borrowed audience or owned audience. And let me explain what I mean by borrowed audience versus an owned audience. Now a platform with a borrowed audience is a platform like Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube. And what it means is that you borrow, as a brand, you borrow an audience from this platform. You don't actually own the contact for each of your followers or subscribers. And what it means is that anytime you post your content on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, there is no guarantee that your followers or subscribers, unless they hit the notification bell, will actually see your content. Relying purely on platforms with borrowed audience is also a very risky move, because you don't know what if a platform might go bankrupt and disappear tomorrow, or what if your account gets suspended or deleted. And imagine if you lose access to all of your followers or subscribers overnight. So this is why I always say that as a brand, it is a very wise thing to have a mix of borrowed audience platforms as well as owned audience. Now let me go into explaining what is an owned audience. An owned audience is where you own a contact of your customer. You can reach out to them at any point in time. So this can be like an email list, SMS, phone number, or even a group chat on WhatsApp or something like that, where you have the contact for your customer. And the great thing about having an owned audience is that, number one, that contact of your customer can never be taken away from you, unless of course the customer requests you unsubscribe, but otherwise you own that audience. And number two is that you can always reach out to them in a personalized manner. It's a lot more of an engaging type of conversation you can have with someone when you own their contact. And another thing is that owning your audience allows you to segment it. So then it allows you to send a lot more personalized type of content and a lot more personalized conversations, which is great for deepening those relationships with your customer. Now, the next thing you need to know about a content strategy is that consistency is key. Find whatever bottlenecks you can see in your content creation process and then outsource those tasks either to freelancers or part-time team members or full-time team members, whatever is in your brand's budget at the stage of development where you're at. But what's most important is that you have a consistent flow of content, both long form and short form, different types of content, photos, videos, articles. So you have that sort of diverse stream of constant communication about your brand going out consistently. To make this happen, it is very important to have systems in place. And I talk about systems all the time. And what it means is just documenting each step of the process of whatever different things are going on in your business, so that you know who are the people responsible for each of the steps, what are the skills necessary, and what is creating bottlenecks, so that you can take a piece of the puzzle out and outsource just that one step. And remember that practice does not make perfect, practice makes better. So just keep putting content out there, and sometimes the pieces of content you've put out a year ago are gonna look cringy to you, and it's fine because you're just gonna keep on improving. And especially if you are an early stage brand, everything is gonna be quite a bit difficult for you, so just keep on going. It's gonna be worth it and it's gonna be fine. So if you've gotten to this part of the video, thank you very much. Thank you for your trust in me and giving your attention and time. And at this point, you would have learned all of the tips that I had for you today on how to create a consistent and a great content strategy for your brand. Thank you once again for watching, and please subscribe to my channel for weekly tips on how to grow direct-to-consumer brands. I talk about content strategy, growth strategy, as well as I demystify venture capital fundraising for direct-to-consumer brands. Thank you, and see you in the next one.